we serve food in the cafe and we tell people stories in the gallery, but we don't usually cross those two things over. And even in terms of the staff, I now know the manager of the cafe and some of the servers who I'd never spoken to before.
Wow.
So within this institution, that was just quite a nice little testing out of something.
Well, I'm fascinated by that, and what really piqued my interest was I went to the Tate, the Oliver Eliasson exhibition, wonderful exhibition, and then as I was leaving, I realised that they had taken over the cafeteria, and then I kind of went back and looked into this, and it turned out that was kind of one of his stipulations, that if he was going to do this exhibition, that he wanted to take over the restaurant. And I thought that's amazing, because art, food kind of started off from many centuries ago as being a subject. Food was kind of a subject of art, and many paintings and sculptures and models around it. Now we're starting to see food being used more as a kind of medium for artists to use it to express their ideas, but it doesn't necessarily have to be neither edible nor delicious, nor it's not really conforming to those rules. But now it's looking at food as becoming a part of the experience in museums. And that fascinates me as a chef who is so interested in this kind of really rich cross-disciplinary area of where kind of art and gastronomy intersect, and that it's not coming from chefs as much as it's coming from artists as well, that want to not only take people on a great journey through their art, but they also want to involve other senses that maybe had never, outside of kind of haute cuisine and gastronomy and the kind of upper echelons, hasn't really been regarded as a part of the art.
Absolutely, and I think it goes back to sort of the Enlightenment in the 18th century, where we really started to draw a distinction between the sort of the mind and the body, and kind of really privilege sight and text and writing over more kind of physical and emotional responses to things. And I think, we're still very much immersed in that. And certainly that's how museums have grown up. I mean, they can be incredibly rich environments, but they're very visual and they're very static. And
it's amazing because even
you have don't touch signs everywhere.
Well, even with the research that, Professor Spence, Professor Charles Spence from Oxford University, who we work with, one of the reasons that he was interested in kind of multisensory flavor perception is because the amount of research that's done in psychology regarding vision and hearing is, way outnumbers the amount of research that's done in terms of things like taste and texture. And it's really interesting that that has carried through even till today in a way that continues.
We don't really know sort of how to sort of conceptualize understanding through taste and flavour, but it is such an important way of interacting with the world and of experience. And if that could be brought into something like a museum experience, I think it's really powerful. And I think also we're just completely missing a trick if we don't do it, because kind of you just know that the kind of conversations people have when they go to the cafe and they sit down and eat and relax and talk about it is very different from that self-conscious interaction, when you're standing in front of a painting and you're worrying about whether you know the right things or what you're supposed to be learning.
That's a very good point.
And all of that. I think that would actually be a way of making museums possibly more accessible, or just not even that, just kind of broadening the range of experiences that we incorporate. I'd like to see museums continue to explore the idea of sort of multi-sensory and embodied engagement. I think that would be a really exciting direction. Obviously, there's real difficulties to doing it, and we came up against that in the current exhibition. How do you finance exhibits that have ingredients that need to be served every day? How do you how do you sensibly approach the conservation issues? But I think it's boundary that is really worth pushing.